against the Paladin.
Yeah, because obviously you've got some of those taunt cards, of course, and he's got the Life Drinker too, at least keeping the game. And again, he's got all the Lightning Storms, he's got the Volcanoes, he's got so much AoE, so I wouldn't say it's a huge advantage or heavily favoured, but I think it would depend on exactly how things come in terms of his curve.
So BigBen has that odd Paladin, and DeadDraw does indeed have the Shudderwock. And both players have pretty solid opening hands. We can see that DeadDraw's got the AoE from the Lightning Storm, he's got one of the combo pieces from Saronite. That Mind Control tech can potentially steal even just a 1-1 for tempo. BigBen has the has dudes on table already. It's turn 1, he can play a spell, he can get some dudes generated. I'm going to keep calling them dudes rather than silver hand recruits. Dudes. It's just dude paladin, right? Push a button, get a dude. Push a button, get 2 dudes.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why 2? You got 4.
So is DeadDraw going to worry enough about the size of this board to Lightning Storm? I'm guessing probably not. He can put the Mana Tide down. Wow, okay. Stealing a minion straight away. He's going for that tempo.
I think he's made the right decision as well. He knows even with coin, he has to wait to at least turn 4, so he can let Bane get away with a few more. You know, it's not really too much at the moment. Of course, the overload will affect him a bit, but that's his only AoE at the moment.
Yeah, he can wait a turn at least to push the emergency almost board clear of the Lightning Storm. And that Wrath of Air totem really doesn't make that much difference here because they're all 1 health. But down the line, if they're buffed by that level up, then the Wrath of Air totem is a big deal. That Lightning Storm then has a minimum of 3 damage, which is going to clear all of those dudes.
Dudes. I think that's going to be... I love it, man. I love it. But it's such a hard decision. It's either, does he use his AoE straight off the bat, or does he wait 1 more turn? But he does have his spell totem up. I assume Ben will take that down with him.
Let's see. Do you play? I like the greedy play here. I like waiting a turn.
I like it as well. It's just, of course, with the Lightning Storm, we'll only get 2 or 3 damage if that spell totem's still not there, but you never know. I'm liking what he's doing at the moment. He's just trying to delay things as much as possible. He's playing very safe. He knows that there's a risk involved where, obviously, not just the fact that he won't have any more AoEs, but the overload as well. You got to remember.
Yeah, I like using Zola to pull the MCT back as well, because now BigBen has to think, okay, I can start buffing minions, I can drop more dudes, but if I do, then potentially one's going to get stolen. And with that knowledge on board, he has to consider how he's going to use his resources more effectively. If, for example, he plays the raid lead here, okay, he's got 3 dudes, they're all going to be attacking for 2. Really doesn't do that much to 26 health initially. But there's the chance there that the MCT can take that raid leader, and all of a sudden he's facing down a 4-attack MCT, a 1-attack Wrath of Air totem, and a 3-attack Zola.
I do like how he's trying to be as both players are trying to be as cost-effective as possible. And like you mentioned before, DeadDraw's got another MC tech as well.
It's interesting because you'd expect the Paladin to just go for face as much as possible, but he's taking out the minions, which for me is really interesting. I would have liked to have seen possibly this Wrath of Air totem go, because of what I was saying before. If there is a Lightning Storm in hand, then it's an automatic board clear for those dudes. I'm going to have to stop calling them dudes. I'm annoying even myself now.
Oh, well, you can tell from my face. I'm just like, shake my head. I'm just sitting there like, dude this, dude that.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean, though, dude?
I know you mean, dude. It's fine. No worries. Even though, you know, we're 2 British people just saying dude all the time. We're going to.
It's awful, isn't it? Let's not.
What we'll just say British slang instead.
Yeah.
I don't know what the British slang is for dude. Well, we could say a bunch of mates.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of mates on
geezers.
board.
A group of geezers.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of geezers on board. Like, just, you know.
Silverhand geezers.
Silverhand geezers. I love that.
But there's a second raid leader in BigBen's hand that allows him to push the attack of these Silverhand recruits, he said correctly, to 3. It's going to get rid of these Saronites, possibly allow him to trade away that totem, and still push some damage to face without really risking any more resources from himself. He can also push the hero power button. There's going to be more for DeadDraw to worry about. I like this play from Ben. He's almost saying, look, if you've got AoE in hand, I'm going to make enough of a threat that you need to use it, even if I'm not buffing it up. I'm just going to keep clearing what you've put on the board. I'm going to keep making threats. You're going to have to keep using your AoE, and eventually you're going to run out.
So basically just trying to be a bit of a pain, which is completely fair enough. And what should we call Ben's hero power? Should we call it the geezer button?
If you like. If you like.
I think that's a nice way of putting it for now. But, oh, actually, is he going to... You saw he was tempted to Lightning Storm them, which he does now. So
yeah.
I think he's in a good spot to use it so far. I don't think that was the wrong play, because as you can see from Ben's hand, he does, again, he has that Vine Cleaver. So eventually he will be able to get 4 geezers per turn on board.
So DeadDraw knows he's safe using the AoE that turn because of Ben's mana total. He can't put down a pair of Silver Hand Recruits and level up in the same turn. He either has to do one, or if there were any minions left, the other. So DeadDraw holding on just long enough there to clear the board, making it awkward for Ben, making him have to consider rebuilding a board. And that's not a great... If anything for this deck, the Sacred Maul is by far the worst of the Maul effects that you can get. Having to take out his own raid leader there, which just doesn't feel good.
Not a fantastic feeling, and as you can see now, Ben is trying to... He's trying to fill the board again, but DeadDraw is making sure he thinks twice. He knows he's got no AoE, but he has good 2 fast sights, so
he does.
It's not too bad. Maybe he can get one from there, but can be very difficult. He does get a Volcano.
Yeah, that's a good AoE.
I think it's a bit... Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. And I feel it's one of those situations where with Volcano, sometimes even me personally, I'll probably use it too early, and especially when you've got minions like this where it's only got 3/1/1. So you might just do the same with the Lightning Storm and just delay it enough to know when it's going to be as cost effective as possible.
It's the perfect time for DeadDraw to have picked up the Volcano, honestly. On 7 mana, Ben can now generate 2 more Silver Hand Recruits. He can play that level up, and there's going to be a load of 3/3s on board, and then we've got Volcano for just 2 mana.
Why not? Cheap and cheerful.
Yeah, you can trade away the MC tech. That's going to go into one of the prospective 3/3 taunts. That gets rid of, as it stands, 5 health off the board. Makes it more likely that Volcano can clear in a single turn. DeadDraw, I mean, he even has the option of Farsight for something else, digging for something else that's cheap. I don't actually think he needs any more help. The only thing he's missing, if anything, is health. But Ben's sticking to that same game plan I mentioned. He's putting enough of a threat on board that DeadDraw has to consider using his AoE. Look, DeadDraw's down to 12 health. We're talking about using these AoEs to clear. All of a sudden, bang, down to 11 now. There's no heal in hand outside that Life Drinker. Is he going to have to push that Volcano button?
I think he's just doing a fantastic job baiting him into using all of his AoEs.
Oh, yeah.
That's literally the story of this game in the moment. And he's still got level up, and he's had that since the beginning. He's had it in his mulligan the whole time. He's been a little bit tempted to try, and he does slowly, but again, I think he does need to use that Volcano, and now he's got that on board. 3 mana again, cheap and cheerful, but what decision could DeadDraw make here? I think he knows himself that he's trying to think what he should do first in general. Yeah,
it's pretty good news for DeadDraw. If you're going to reduce the cost of a card, Grumble's a good one to reduce the cost of. He's decided he has to go for the AoE. Doesn't go for the trade first, doesn't need to. That's 1 clear board, has enough to put down this Mana Tide and start digging for more stuff in his deck. And he does need more stuff in the deck. As we can see from Ben's hand, he's got that Vine Cleaver that can come down now. The Vine Cleaver, the Protector, and he can just start refilling again.
Again with Hex, you know, not the greatest card in this matchup. Maybe one of the minions got a +3 and then leveled up afterwards. That's understandable. Seems like he is going to, again, you know, faces to places is understandable. But I think now DeadDraw isn't in a fantastic spot. He's still got 1 Lightning Storm and 1 Volcano left in his deck, but of course he hasn't won it yet.
That's pretty much game. Oh, except if you draw the Shard. I was going to say that was pretty much game because we haven't got anything from healing.
No,
even that single life drinker isn't going to be enough. But that's it. That's exactly lethal. All right. Okay. Doesn't need the additional buffs, and even with the Vine Cleaver frozen, that was just it. Holding on to that level up paid off.
Yeah, just had too many geezers on board, didn't he?
There was too many geezers.
That was the story of the game, and of course he had so many he could literally bait DeadDraw into using all his AoEs. I think he only had 2 literally the whole game, and of course Hex, bit pointless in that matchup depending on, of course, if a minion had a +3 added on to level up anything like that, that's perfectly understandable. But again, like I said, that was the main story, but I think Ben just did a really good job just trying to at least play with DeadDraw.
Yeah, he played that pretty much flawlessly. He just kept putting big boards down that DeadDraw had no option other than to use AoE with. And when you're AoEing down a board of 4, 5, 2-attack minions, then 2 turns down the line when he's playing that, when he's playing more buffs with the Fungal Mancer, you have to either have more AoE or a way of healing to combat it. Both those AoEs went fairly early. There was no healing outside of that life drinker, and Ben just kept refilling and refilling and refilling.
And I felt like even though he did get the heal right at the very end as he drew it, I don't think it would have made too much of a difference, in my opinion. But again, maybe being a little bit skeptical, but as you can see now, Ben, with that Warlord get, and you can see now, DeadDraw will be going with Shadow Walk, same as last time.
Yeah, I was going to highlight this difference. DeadDraw is using the Keleseth version of Shadow Walk, which is kind of falling out of favor. The reason being, people are substituting Keleseth for a couple of wild pyromancers. With all the spells Shadow Walk has and the effect of doing 1 damage when you play a spell, it's really good at cleaning out dudes. So if maybe he'd had a wild pyro there, then we could have seen almost like an on-board AoE over and over and over again, and that would have been fantastic at keeping Ben from building those semi-threatening boards that had to be dealt with.
Well, there'll be no geezers this game, I'm afraid.
No,
I'm sorry, I know you wanted to see more, I know, but it is a shame. And then, of course, now, with that Keleseth, fantastic card for him to start with. Maybe a little bit out of fashion. I think the one I also had has also got Keleseth still. Probably a little bit outdated, but he's got a Doomsayer. He's still got Hellfire as well, so he's got a few cards to keep him out, including that Twilight Drake, of course.
The Keleseth version is fine if you're able to target decks that have a lot of small minions for a ban, which is what the Paladin is. Unfortunately, that wasn't the ban he chose, possibly because he felt that the other deck's more threatening from Ben. I don't think he would have played the Keleseth version had he known that that's what he would have been running up against. But like I said, this is something we saw a replay almost of the game with Dan's and Westwith earlier. We've got the Even Warlock, we've got the Shadow Walk. Ben's trying to damage his own face. He's drawing into these big threats like the Mountain Giant, like hopefully the Hook Reaver. And DeadDraw just doesn't care about attacking him. He's just going to keep him at arm's length until he gets his Shadow Walk pieces.
I don't blame him. And even if Ben, of course, does put that Giant down, he's got a Hex, so not too bad. Again, that MC Tech, I don't think it's going to be, even though it is 0 mana, it is lovely, it is fine, but it's not going to be too useful in this matchup, especially at this point, unless Ben has put a few cards on board. But he's obviously seen that MC Tech play twice in that last matchup, so he's going to know, with those 2 MC Techs, he's going to just make sure he keeps 3 on board, make sure he plays safe. Again, DeadDraw needed to use that Hex, don't blame him, and he's obviously going to freeze that Twilight Drake.
Yeah, don't forget though, the Mind Control tech has been buffed by Keleseth, and that Farsight has turned it into effectively a 0 mana 4/4, which is a great tempo play.
Can't really complain with that.
Yeah, it's still a semi-decent card. Black Knight coming down early, so Ben I think is on the I'm just going to have to kill you before you get all the combo pieces plan.
He's just going to play aggressive, I think, from here on.
Yeah.
I think he knows that, you know, time is not in his favour and he needs to get the job done quick.
Yeah, because typically with the Black Knight, you'd hold it for taking out something like a Lich King. Instead, he's just using it to get rid of one of those Saronite pieces, partly because it allows him to clear up the board a bit more, but also partly because it stops DeadDraw pulling one of those Saronites back to hand to replay it, which will mean more Shudderwalks coming back to hand potentially later on, or a greater chance of the Shudderwalk coming back to hand.
Would it be worth DeadDraw calling out the Hagatha, because of the fact that at this point in time, I'm not saying it just because of the armor, but obviously with the spells from the hero power, it may keep him in it.
Hagatha's a really interesting one. The big problem that I find with Hagatha is the clogging of your hand. Hand management with Hagatha played is really, really hard. Having a 0 mana MCT, of course, is great because you can just play that. But I don't think he's under enough threats that he needs to worry about doing 3 damage to the board. In fact, it would damage his own board more than it would damage Ben's. He's facing down 2 4-attack minions, but realistically, he's not in any danger at this point.
I love how Ben's got the trophy in the background. Just to say, you know what, DeadDraw, just to let you know, mate, I know you qualified, you may be top 15 in Legend, but that trophy behind me, yeah, that's it. I am the reigning champion. Don't
He's just establishing dominance. That's what it is.
Literally is.
I'm the big dog. This is my patch. This is getting really gangster now, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Yeah, do you know what? It's because you've been with me too long. You've been with me for, what, an hour? And now all of a sudden you're talking like a gangster. But as you can see now, Ben is still being pretty patient at the moment. I'll be interested to see what DeadDraw plays next in these next couple of turns.
I wouldn't mind him playing the Grumble here, doing some damage to... Actually, yeah, I mean, he can use both of his minions to take out that Infernal or this... Okay, so it looks like he's on your plan with Hagatha.
I don't think it's a bad decision because there's a lot of time in Shadowhawk where you've got too many cards and there's only sometimes where you're not. It's like you never really get that in between. So doing it now, I think he feels that at least that way, if he gets any spells which either silence the minions or does any damage, then at least he can delay, not the inevitable, but just delay the game as much as possible so it's more in his favour. It's a tall order. It's going to be very tough for him, especially now with that Lich King out.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see how he goes.
Yeah, he's got the 0 mana mind control, which is basically 0 mana draw a card. Oh, hello. That's drawing a card as well.
Yeah, that's not too bad to not a bad card to draw in my opinion. And also, Ben will overdraw.
Are we on 10? We are on 10.
If I know my math correctly.
It's homunculus. We're not too sad.
Yeah, I'm not sad at all right now. Ben's alright. I think he's gonna be happy with his lovely trophy in the background. He's just going to chill and go, you know what, that's fine with me. I don't mind losing a 2-4 taunt. It's all good, taking a bit of damage.
Yeah, I can understand the silence here, just stopping DeadDraw picking up any more cards from that Acolyte. I wonder whether or not he's going to use this this Death Knight card, buff his minions. He's going for the draw first. I think he probably will, because it's going to allow that Black Knight and his newly hexed Lich King to start pushing damage to face, and that's pretty much what he needs to do at this point.
The only reason why I thought he would is because of the fact that, obviously, with MC tech, it's going to cause an issue. But now we're going to see if he actually takes the Black Knight or the Reaver.
Yeah, it's a really risky play. That mind control, he knows that mind controls are in the deck. He's seen it played for... Aha! that was my... All right, I'm going to try and rein in my excitement. That unstable evolution, wow. Okay, he can use that 9 times to... you don't need to, but he can use it numerous times to start buffing up a minion or minions, making something really difficult for Ben to just snipe with a single attack. He's getting some fantastic spells off this. He's got a bunch of cheap 1-mana spells. He's got a Bloodlust in hand. He can just potentially build a board, ignore all the Shudderwalk shenanigans, and just Bloodlust Ben off the table.
And even if he has another Reaver, he can just Black Knight it straight away. What a pick out of all the 4 minions. Yeah, you know, that was definitely one of the best ones to have. It could have had Reaver as well, at least just for damage purposes, and just having something on board just to at least keep him at bay. Yeah,
just see the little flick there over the Bloodlust. May even play this to gain a new elemental.
Why not?
And with Hagatha generating all these spells, we now have a 4-5 taunt, a 10-10. We've got the Heartspring Guardian in hand, which is an emergency heal if necessary, and a taunt. Ben can only push 8 to face. If he uses the Spellstone and the Hellfire, he can potentially clean the board here. We can have the Spellbreaker trade into the Black Knight. We can play the Hellfire, and then the Hooked Reaver and the Spellstone gets rid of Grumble. But it doesn't really do anything for his own lethal. It's just clearing the board. And you don't want to be sitting around messing with the board when you're facing up against Shudderwock. You want to be pushing its face, saying, okay, here's all my stuff. Do you have answers?
It's definitely going to be difficult for him now at this stage. But at least with this now, he's going to... This is the talking point. This is where he will struggle. Because before, I thought he was going to use that card when he had 3 minions. Mainly due to the fact that with him knowing that DeadDraw had 2 MC techs in his Shudderwock deck. But there's that possibility of taking one of the cards he really didn't want to take, which he did. It was the Black Knight. Even though it's 4-1, he took it back and obviously could use it for himself. But now this is going to be an issue no matter what happens.
Yeah, this is really interesting. And again, it's really good heads-up play from Ben. He's made a board that is just really difficult for DeadDraw to deal with. There isn't any AoE in hand, which, you know, there could have been. But even if it was Volcano, there's so much health on board, including this 10-10 on DeadDraw's side, that the Volcano is probably not going to be enough. So we've got these big threats. He's not too worried about... That's fantastic. He's not worried about losing a 6-1 taunt. And now he's faced with the possibility of trading a 10-10 into a...
Let's see Lightning Storms, but... And then uses... Oh, it's very difficult now. DeadDraw's really going to have to think about this. And
it's top snail gaming from BigBen. That gastropod there is... It's a small snail. It's single-handedly holding off the Shaman Legendary. This kind of feels almost like a panic.
I would say so. I think he's just trying to do enough damage. Obviously, it's only going to do 2 or 3 tall minions. I just want to get the poison out of the way, at least try and be as cost-effective as possible. He's still got a few cards left to draw. But you remember... Sorry, I was going to save it now. Ben still has that Hellfire, and he's got the 2 Defiles now to take those out. I assume he'll use the Hellfire first, obviously due to the Acolyte. Doesn't want him to draw any more cards, which I understand perfectly. But do you reckon he may start using some of his AoEs now?
I actually like the Defile. Make him overdraw some cards. Hope it's Shudderwock. We can see that it's not, of course. But it's a low use. There's rarely going to be a board like this that you need to clear with Defile. You don't, with the best will in the world, want to be Hellfiring because you're only on 19 health yourself. Down to 17 now. That would take you to 14. We've got the Giant, but, you know, Grumble laughs at the Giant at this point. Yeah, it's looking pretty dire from Ben. He went from this big board of protected minions. There you go. There's the Defile. He's hoping for the overdraw. Let's see what we lose.
I'll be curious to know what he loses now. This could be
a life
drinker. It's quite difficult. Obviously, if he lost both of them, it'll be a bit of an issue. He's only lost 1.
Yeah.
It's hard because when if I ever lost like one of the 2, it would affect me a lot. So he'll have to probably delay a little bit longer. At least he's got a Hex now from the spells.
This is
3 Hex, can't complain.
Oh, okay, fair enough. This is potentially, I was going to say, risky for DeadDraw because that Manatite Totem is going to be drawing him a card. Okay, yeah, he's locked into the life drinker there.
Even, did you see the reaction on his face just? And he was like, I'm so happy I got that life drinker, which is fair enough because in this entire game, that's his first one. Well, technically second one, if you don't include the first one, which got burned.
Yeah, and if he'd lost that as well, if he somehow miscalculated and overdrawn from that Manatide and lost his life drinker, then there's no heal and damage to face from Shudderwock. What you have is a minion that generates a lot of 6, probably 3s, because the Hagatha battle cry is going off. And, you know, our Hellfire is enough to deal with all of those.
I'm not sure if he's noticed from his mulligan, but he's had that Shudderwock, or even seen that he's not played that one card the entire game. So he's probably got a feeling that he does have it. I think he was just hoping that he could help himself to try and burn whatever he could to make an impact in this game. Not too much of an impact, I'd say. Obviously, do you know what? The game would probably get drawn longer, but it's not something which will make a huge impact on DeadDraw.
Again, it's the same sort of thing from Ben. He's putting down enough big threats that DeadDraw is having to use cards with oh my god, my mind's gone blank. The borrowing the crystal from the next turn. What on earth's that called?
Do you know what? I actually can't remember either now.
Yeah, my mind's gone off the back. Yeah, it's got the overload. Anyway. There we go. Oh. Wow, that was difficult. So he's been forced.
I said overload twice earlier.
Yeah,
well.
I know, right? I think it's the heat.
It is the heat. Do you know what? I think that's a good. I'm going to use the excuse.
Yeah.
Damn you, heat.
So he's having to use these cards which have overload on them to keep the board clear. And of course, if you're overloaded, then you can't play the shuttle walk.
I just find it funny that you were trying to think of the word. You came to me. I was thinking about the word, but I've said overload like at least 2 or 3 times during this series. So, yeah, you can thank me for the great help I just gave you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
But speaking of overload, he will be overload for 5 next turn. We'll use his Hellfire. But what can Ben do now to come back in this?
He's just got to keep up with the same game plan. He's got to keep putting down these chunky threats or big enough boards that overload needs to be used. He knows that DeadDraw, like you say, probably has Shadowwalk in hand. He knows that he has a hand that's really full. So we're noticing DeadDraw having to play a load of spells just to get them out of his hand. He's had a turn where he's played no minions just to get his hand clear enough from that Hag of the Hero power that he can think about playing Shadowwalk. And this is it. This is pretty much the pivotal turn. Ben needs a way of forcing that play out of DeadDraw, that clear. But DeadDraw's on 25 health. There's not much that Ben can do.
He's clearly done that just to get below 15 HP. Of course, the Reaver will be 7/7. Going to use his hero power afterwards just so that Reaver stays a 7/7. But now, I think he's slowly running out of ideas. This Hagatha has done a lot of damage. It's given him a Hex. It's given him a few silences. It's done a lot to him. And I think Ben is feeling the pressure now, knowing that Hagatha's done a lot of... the
counter to that, of course,
counters, yeah,
is if he'd played Shadowwalk that turn, Hagatha would have generated his spell. He would have gone up to 9, 10 cards again. And even if the Shadowwalk had gone off, nothing would have been pulled back to hand. So he just couldn't play the Shadowwalk there.
It could even be doing him a favour if he gets rid of some of the cards he doesn't need, but that's just more of a coin flip at the moment. But it will be transforming his minion enough to decide exactly what he wants. He will stick with that, which is fair enough. It's got poison, so anything he does put on the board may get taken out, depending if he knows he's going to anyway. But he's obviously got the spell.
Yeah, Ben's got a load of healing
power as well.
But he's not got any way of applying pressure, really.
I feel like the momentum for him now is full swing in DeadDraw's hand. At the moment, he's got nothing which can actually do much at all. I think Ben's just basically said just then, with those cards, this is all I have. What can you do left? And DeadDraw will clearly take one out, and that minion will still be alive.
And again, this is risky. He's taking himself back up to that high card total. What are we looking for here? There's nothing. That Defile's great if there's a way of creating a 2 health minion, which we can see there isn't.
No, only one or only one at the moment. There's no way he can actually.
He could play
change it in the slightest.
The Gen, however you want to pronounce it. Then hero power his own minion to take it to 2. Then Defile, which would be a full board clear. But I mean, what's the point of that?
Yeah, it's again. I wouldn't say it's cost effective at all, but it's a lot of spells to use just to clear out just a few minions which aren't really too much of a deal. But I'm surprised he left that 2-1 on board.
I think, honestly, I think Ben's at the point now where what he's doing is trying to rack his health up as much as possible. He knows that DeadDraw has a handful of stuff that he's really going to be struggling to play the Shadowwalk. And that's his best hope. If he can keep putting these things that need to be dealt with by minions, that's going to keep generating spells, and it's going to keep DeadDraw from effectively playing that Shadow Walk. I might have not blamed DeadDraw for using the Bloodlust there.
I was just trying to think from the top of my head, because DeadDraw has got a heal. Has he used? Did he use a heal earlier? I was just trying to remember, because I know he's got a heal in hand.
I don't remember him using one.
But that means he's still got two. So this entire game, he's never needed it. But of course, he's already put that Shadow Walk down. Brings two back, and it looks like this could be game.
Yeah, it was. He's played it well there. The two Shadow Walks drawn to hand, so if worse came to worse and he'd miscalculated and Hagatha pulled a spell in his hand, at least he's still got two he can play.
Yeah, he just wanted to play it really safe. He just wanted to make sure the win wasn't just 80, 90%, it was 100%. He wanted to make sure that it was perfectly fine. Yeah. And again, Ben will tap out. He just literally just ran out of steam. He had no more minions to put down, and I think some of the ones he did have, again, that Hagatha gave him the Hex, some of the silences, just gave him all the ammunition he needed to stop Ben from winning that game. Yeah,
that was kind of what we talked about right at the start of the analysis, that if you can hold them off long enough, then you can just get to the point where Shadow Walk will go infinite. And despite the hand size issues, which DeadDraw negotiated admirably, he was able to get that Shadow Walk down. And even with a single life drink, it was enough to long-term go infinite. Ben, realizing he doesn't have anything else he can do, despite starting on 30 health, just gives it up.
Obviously, if he lost two, but it would have been a real issue. It would have been quite a huge impact, I would say, on how things would go. But having one, it's not really too much of a big deal. He knew that he can win clearly from that. Yeah. And as you saw, Ben didn't have anything to put down, just to have any kind of ball control as a whole anyway. Yeah.
There is a corner case where it's still viable. Hagatha can give you Blazing Invocation, which allows you to summon a Battlecry minion. If you're incredibly lucky, the Battlecry minion you get is Shadow Walk, so you get to restart the Shadow Walk, or a Life Drinker, and you get to add that to the Shadow Walk chain.
As you see now, Ben is still deciding what he wants.
Yeah, it's what I was talking about with the Mage. The two decks that you see most often with Mage are complete polar opposites. You've got this Tempo Mage, which is incredibly fast. Mana Worms go down turn one. You get offensive spells and secrets from then on, and it just says, right, okay, I'm just going to go full speed ahead. If you're a control deck, I hope you can heal lots, because I'm intending on burning you.
That's the serious she's going to have, yeah.
The other end is this, is the big Spell Mage, which is like, I'm just going to sit here and clear boards over and over and over again. And at some point down the line, I'm going to put Death Knight Jaina on board, and you're going to start having problems, because all my elementals are going to be healing me and damaging you.
And as you can see, the series now is 1-0, so DeadDraw has made that comeback, and there's two cards I see, which I know Dan never had in his mulligan and wished he did, was, of course, that Wild Growth and that Nourish. So I think that's a great start for him.
This is going to be an interesting one. Because if you look all the way over onto the left-hand side of BigBen's hand, you get to see the Tree of Life. Sorry, Tree of Life. No, that's a wild card now. It's the Death Rattle that brings back the Treants.
Yeah.
And that means this is a token deck. So you've got the Big Spell Mage, which is essentially a deck that relies on clearing boards over and over and over again. And the Token Druid, which relies on a few instances where it makes a big board and then does a big push. So I'm going to say DeadDraw is pretty heavily favored here.
I've had this problem against Big Spell Mage with Taunt Druid a lot in the past, just because of the fact that either the Mage has delayed me enough to at least have lethal, or the fact that maybe I'll have the cards I need and I can finish the Big Spell Mage. Of course, this isn't Taunt Druid, this is Token, so I'll be interested to see how Ben will play this one out. But I think he's had a good curve so far, apart from the lack of minions at the moment.
Yeah, DeadDraw choosing to ping the teacher there. Possibly anticipating some sort of silence from Ben. The Doomsayer goes off and clears whatever it is that the teacher does. I mean, we could see the swipe come down. Having played the Doomsayer, Ben's going to know that this is not Tempo Mage. This is big spell. So the swipe is fine to play at this point. So the ping on the teacher is understandable. Gets it to a more manageable health total for AoE.
But he's got another Doomsayer though.
He does have another Doomsayer.
It's going to be interesting now. I'm not too sure if he will put this down. I assume he will, just to take out the teacher. But he's going to think to himself now that I wouldn't say that swipe was a waste, but again, that the whole point of that was to keep the teacher alive. But it looks like now he will give it up. He's going to let it go.
Is Ben maybe considering using a Savage Roar this early? No. Okay. He could have potentially used Savage Roar, which would have been a huge investment of resources just to keep a relatively small board alive, but instead gives it up. Does enough to put 1 damage to face, which probably doesn't feel good. It's Skulking Geist as well. It's going to get rid of Jasper Spellstones. It gets rid of Nourishes, which is the Token Druid's big point removal cards. But BigBen's got a fairly decent answer to it in a 10-mana spell. Out comes UI.
I don't really blame him for doing that either. I think he did need a few more cards on the bounce. He's got Wild Growth, so at least he can get another card from that. Plague, not really necessary at the moment.
Yeah, the little smile from Ben there. He would have been on 10 cards, but that Arcane Tyrant comes into hand. He can play it for 0 because it's been reduced in cost because of the expensive spell he's played. So he's back down to 9. He's not going to overdraw. There are less critical cards to overdraw in the token deck. The Whispering Woods would have been bad, for example. But if you lose, I don't know, A branching paths, you're not in the world of hurt.
But at least he makes use of the 4-1 anyway, just to clear the board for now. Gets a second swipe, even though he still will get that feeling of the first one was a little bit wasteful, but he didn't expect 2 Doomsayers straight off the bat, which is quite rare in itself.
So, Ben, okay, he's just going to ask the question, do you have the AoE? Here we go. Soul of the Forest was the name of the spell which eluded my mind. I'm going to see now. It's definitely the heat. That's what it is. So we've got the Soul of the Forest. It's come down. He's made a big board with the Death Rattle that summons the Treants. So now DeadDraw has to have 2 consecutive AoEs. Or...
He's only got Flame Strike, so of course he's not going to use it for a bunch of 1-1s. I know I wouldn't, but...
Yeah, the trouble with using something like the Dragon's Fury or the Flame Strike at this point is it gets rid of a board of 1-1s, replaces it with a board of 2-2s. Which honestly, yeah, I don't like net, really. That's effectively doubling my opponent's output of damage.
He has got that Savage Roar, but I'm wondering, I'd assume he won't use it just yet, considering...
How much damage can he push? We've got the...
I would see if I can see one. There we go.
Got the Savage Roar, which is going to be, quick maths, 14, 21, 22, 23, 24. He's just going for it.
So he's going to have 34 damage.
That's enough.
Board. Yeah. So more than that. I was literally going to do the maths then. I think he had 5 minutes on the board left, but also 34, and also he had another +1 on all 7.
Yeah,
literally
with the branching paths. Yeah, I mean, it's enough for his hero power or just his face and one of the minions to take out the Tauren, and the rest just goes face. And DeadDraw, yeah, he played that well. He got to the point where he had the AoE in hand, but like we said, even if he had done something with the AoE, it wasn't going to be enough. He needed 2 consecutive AoEs.
I think you said he had 22 damage before he upgraded him again, so he would have had 36 damage
Yeah, this.
I know my math correctly.
I'd have to go back and check the VOD because,
I think it was, right?
yeah, again, you know, it's probably the heat and not my age. Definitely not my age.
That's fine.
That's making me slow down.
It's a hot summer's day. It's fine. I think it would have been 36 damage. Of course, that's why it would have cleared the cleared the board off the bat, and then obviously had leave after them, which is completely fair enough.
Yeah, yeah. Again, Ben playing to his outs, managed to hold on to the point that he had the Whispering Woods, he had the Soul of the Forest, and he had the follow-up with those extra buff cards. That UI coming in clutch on turn 9.
Definitely a card he needed, and no Doomsays this time. He's getting rid of that.
Now, DeadDraw choosing to go back to the Even Warlock. No, sorry. Back to the Mage with Ben on the Even Warlock. DeadDraw keeping both Voodoo Dolls. Those are great. You know, you drop them as a counter to your Mountain Giants.
Yes, that's just the worst thing is we've got 2, and when he puts that Mountain Giant down, he's going to assume that he's got 2 as well. So if he puts this Mountain Giant down, he'll probably put the other one down again because he won't assume he's got 2 of those Voodoo Dolls. So
yeah, again, it's one of those
hurt him a lot
situations where who would win? An enormous elemental made out of rock, or a small cloth doll? And obviously the answer is a small cloth doll.
Oh, why not? You know, small cloth doll. What can you do, eh? It's just OP, pretty much.
So Ben putting down the gastropod, partly because he knows he doesn't really need it. There's no big early game minions that the mage is going to be playing, so he doesn't need it particularly to counter anything. But also he knows that there are 2 Doomsayers in there, so he can use one of those potentially to clear a Doomsayer and then start to develop himself.
This is the next problem as well, is that when he puts his Giant down, obviously he can, with DeadDraw, he can literally put the doll down, coin hero power, and then next turn, he can do the exact same thing again, because he'll be on turn 5 by then.
Well, that's interesting. So Ben's running Bone Mares in his Even Warlock, which I haven't seen too much. I like it as a tech choice, both because it's going to be buffing something and because it's a solid 5/5 minion, and the taunt potentially is going to be invaluable against more board-focused decks, which the mage isn't, but it's an interesting tech choice nonetheless.
Well, when you have 2 cloth dolls, that's it. They're gone. So it's going to struggle.
Yeah.
When he does use Bone Mare, I assume he will be using it again. Of course, he doesn't need to coin this time. He's already turn 5. He can just literally clear it up.
Yeah. 2 small cloth dolls win.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? Makes perfect sense. In the real world, the exact same thing would happen, wouldn't it?
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I knew I wasn't too stupid, but...
DeadDraw picking up an extra Lich King, which is lovely. And he's drawn into Frostless Jaina, which is pretty much the engine around which this whole deck works. For Ben, though? I don't know. With both of these Even Warlocks that we've seen from Ben and from Westwith earlier, I've kind of felt like they haven't really gelled.
Ben didn't look too happy to begin with. You could see he was like just murmuring at himself, thinking, "What should I do?" But he could have easily, DeadDraw could have easily polymorphed that. He managed to get the card draw for it, but he knows that he needs to save it, especially later on in the game. That Doomsday could do something, but unless he actually silences it or takes out with, of course, the spell and Hellfire.
Yeah, it's another.
Hellfire, sorry.
It's another good. It's effectively something that you need to do something with, which is a really stupid thing to say. But by putting it down, DeadDraw says, "Okay, I'm going to clear the board unless you invest resources into it. And if you invest, say, 7 attack into it, great. You've effectively healed me for 7. If you invest a Spellbreaker into it, great. You're not going to be using that to target my Lich King."
So he does decide to actually save the Hellfire at the moment. And, you know, he did silence it. That was one of the plays that I mentioned to begin with. I don't blame him for doing it. He's only just put his Twilight Drake on board, so he wants to make at least some kind of use out of it.
Yeah, another big pickup for DeadDraw with that Baron Geddon. It's going to be doing plenty of AoE, and after Froshelit's Jane is going to be healing him loads. But this is the perfect answer. Down comes the Artificer, we get a Blizzard, it's going to be freezing that board in place and killing 2 of the minions. It generates 6 effective health for DeadDraw. This may already be over. I mean, it seems like it. I've just done the cast a curse thing, but
you say someone's going to win. Oh no, wait.
Yeah. Well, you know, whoever plays Army of the Dead, but anyway.
That's true. Yeah. I'll let you off that one.
But this, I mean, I'm also going against the previous champion and BigBen, who I've known since I-58, and he's an outstanding player, but I just don't see a way back into this game for him.
Yeah, because Ben, as a player, even a couple of seasons ago, he wasn't too comfortable with being in the environment and how to play, especially at live finals and stuff. And of course, last event in the last Premiership back in autumn 2017, he got used to it. He actually enjoys playing the game more. Doesn't take it too seriously, but he managed to be a lot more comfortable and less nervous in front of a crowd and just in front of playing streaming overall. So, and you could see compared to 2 seasons ago and last season, he won. So that showing then he managed to fix all his problems in and outside the game. Of course, in this match, he is up 2-1, but he'll want to have a good start, at least by beating DeadDraw. But he's having a few problems at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Like he's having to use a Defile and then the Dread Infernal to clear off just the Artificer there, because he knows that it's going to be generating more life, and that's the last thing he wants the Mage to have. The Mage still on 31 health, though, and we're up to turn 8.
It's still going to be a few issues, and
that's perfect.
He can't ask for much more, really, from that Meteor. So
Meteor.
Meteor.
Very meaty. It was extremely meaty.
I was going to... it's a shame, really, because obviously Meaty didn't qualify this time, speaking of Devil. Oh, never mind. We'll see him again, I'm sure. But of course, he's still going to polymorph, so when Ben does put the Lich King down or use Bowmare on maybe the Reaver in the future, of course, he has 2 polymorphs just to cover that, so he will struggle.
Yeah. I don't know. If Froshelit's Jaina comes down here, we may just see Ben concede. We see him nod. He's definitely acknowledging that things are getting real, as they say.
Looking very bleak.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Because now 36 health. Great. It's turn 9, and my opponent's actually on 6 more health than he started with. I'm on 14 health. Wow.
Nothing more to say, really. And of course, at least he can polymorph it.
Yeah.
But I reckon when he does, and then maybe polymorph something else, that's where Ben may concede.
Yeah, the polymorph comes down. Yep, there you go. There's the grimace of acknowledgement. Icy touch.
Of course, yeah. And he can do that again as well if, when he brings out maybe the Reaver on board or something else, when he polymorphs that and gets another Elemental out,
yeah,
he's going to have some serious issues, and that's when he will probably think about going into Game 5, but we never know.
So what, I mean, like I said way back a couple of turns ago, I just don't think there's anything that Ben can do here. He can't pressure face enough for it to make enough of a difference. He can't get rid of these minions without healing his opponent and freezing his own board. Yeah, he can use a Spellstone maybe to get rid of this Water Elemental, heal up his own face, play the Hooked Reaver first, start to make a bigger board, but we can see that there's all the power tools in DeadDraw's hand. He's still got a polymorph there. He's got Baron Geddon, which is almost like an emergency switch. You can push that to start doing big heals for yourself. That Lich King, I wouldn't be surprised with DeadDraw potentially just dropping the Lich King and saying, okay, fine, go for it. I know you don't have that much burn. I've got an 8/8 on board. What are you going to do about it?
He definitely still has a chance. He just needs to make sure these elementals don't get out of hand. Just make sure none of his minions turn into 1 health. Of course, the only thing I can see that can do that is the polymorph, and if he uses a flame strike, which he has 2 of.
Yeah.
He can do that on the Bone Mare and obviously get another one, and it's going to be pretty difficult for him.
Yeah, I mean, he can Flame Strike, trade in with the Water Elemental, generate a new Water Elemental from the Bone Mare, just like he's doing. Thanks for the extra 3 health.
Cheers, mate.
And my board's exactly the same as it was before you started the turn. You know, you threw a load of resources at me, and effectively, nothing happened.
Rinse and repeat. That's what it looks like it's going to be so far. Ben's trying to figure out in every possible action he can make, anything he can do just to not just keep himself in the game or the series, but just to keep himself in this matchup. He's trying to figure out any way possible. He knows DeadDraw's running out of wouldn't say AoEs, but just running out of spells to keep him at bay, but he's trying to be as cost-effective as possible. As you can see, DeadDraw still has that polymorph. Still
yeah, not only that, but look at his look at DeadDraw's hand. They're bookended by 2 large icy gentlemen.
Yeah, can't complain really, can you?
No. So we can have another Flame Strike here straight away, another trade.
Flame Strike, isn't it?
Another ping. Great. You summoned your Death Knight, created a big board. Guess what? Nothing happened.
Cheers, mate. What's next? What's next on the menu? This is what literally DeadDraw's thinking at the moment. And of course, still has that polymorph. No AoE, but has the Baron Geddon anyway, even though it does do 2 damage to all. Has those 2 Lich Kings. Still has another Reeve on board. What do you think so far? Do you think Ben there's a possibility of coming back in this matchup, or do you reckon he's going to run out of steam at some point?
No.
Absolutely not. That's what I was thinking. Considering those 2 Shroom cards as well, that was literally the same 2 cards he had when he lost to DeadDraw in the last game. So that was literally his game ender. And of course, they don't really mean too much at this stage. It doesn't need to heal. It needs to get something on the board to stay on the board.
And he's out of threats. I mean, the biggest thing he's got left is that Gen Greymane, or Gen Greymane. There's no Giants, there's no Hooked Reavers. He's thrown all of his resources at the Water Elementals, and there's still a Water Elemental there.
It's not looking too good. Ben is still trying to, bless him, he's trying to think of other ways to actually try and come back in this, but not too bad though. Obviously, the first series of the day, we saw that reverse sweep from Dan coming back 3-2, and we're going to see maybe, just maybe, another game 5.
Yeah, I mean, okay, Doomsayer comes down. Lifesteal, he's just keeping himself ahead of the mage, I guess. Down to 15 health. But that's a nice answer to it. I was going to say he could even just play Syndragosa here, do 1 damage to face with the taunt minion. When the Doomsayer goes off, it's going to put 2 legendaries in his hand. However, if he really wants to keep that 1/4 taunt alive, he can just Meteor.
I think that's the main thing as well, is the fact that if he does put it down, he gets those 2 0/1s. Of course, he won't be able to tap and at least get one of the elementals up. But at least he had 2 legendary cards straight off the bat.
True.
But he doesn't actually need to do that yet. I think if he just plays it safe and just leaves it, that's perfectly fine. And the great thing is the fact that he had no AoEs left, and then goes, oh look, a Volcano.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. He can remove the Doomsayer. I'm not sure that's good. Doesn't even care. Down comes the Lich King. I'm going to generate a Death Knight card.
I think he's trying to say to Ben now that if I can just give up a Lich King, then I've obviously got a big stack in my hand, and I think Ben's really feeling the pressure now. He knows he's running out of options, and just throwing away Lich King like that basically tells the story, I'd say.
Yeah, and note it was the Lich King from his own deck rather than the one that he pulled from the Stonehill. So Ben's not going to know what that other taunt minion is.
He may in a second, depending on if he does play or not, but I think he's still going to...
Yeah, Meteor on Gen, ping onto the Homunculus, generate another Water Elemental.
And we're back to square one, back to the same root of the problem. And his next card is something he does not want.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, look at look at what Ben's doing. He's without any big threats, without investing a load of stuff into the board, without playing a load of spells, he's still managed to get DeadDraw down to 12 health.
And that's extremely difficult against these kind of mages. It's like, I think it's very hard because they always sit around the 30 mark because they might have elementals they have on board. But I think it's great the way he's keeping him on his toes so far. 9 HP now. And he's just got to make sure he doesn't have anything which could effectively get a water elemental out.
Yeah. I mean, 9 health looks pretty bleak for DeadDraw, but like we said, Ben just doesn't have any threats anymore. The most he can do is keep hero powering face. And if DeadDraw can come up with a way of generating enough health per turn to stay ahead of that hero power, he's fine. The Tar Creep, of course, being an elemental, is going to heal up. What do you like here?
Well, of course, with DeadDraw, you can't put that Baron down because it'll do 2 damage to himself every time. That's probably being a bit too risky. Oh, it does put it down. Okay, that's fair enough. So I'm interested to see what he does from there. I was a bit worried for him because I know, fair enough, he can do 2 damage a turn. Me personally, I probably would play it a little bit more safe, but I think he feels like he can get away with it. But now he's on 15 HP. That's perfectly understandable.
Yeah, and that was well held with the Death Knight Death and Decay spell there.
But again, Ben's going to have a board, but this time he hasn't got any Flame Strikes, but he has got a Meteor, and he can get another Elemental up. And he's only on 8 HP again now.
Yeah, Ben's really striving. This is, I mean, this is a really gutsy performance. I wrote him off. Yeah, I wrote him off turns and turns ago, but he's keeping at it.
And the Defile's not going to make too much difference at the moment. The Black Knight won't either. And of course, those 2 Sun Furies aren't going to make too much difference either. He's just trying to figure out another way. Yeah, he needs some way of dealing with this Water Elemental, because otherwise it's going to start healing DeadDraw back up. And from what I can see, there isn't one. So none so far, is there? There's actually no way. Unless you try, yeah, it's like you said, you can try and take the Elemental out first, but just going to keep getting that 3 HP a turn back, and that's when things will look pretty bleak for Ben.
Yeah, it's perfect because the Water Elemental's countering BigBen's hero power. So, you know, it's effectively free for Ben having to push 2 mana a turn. Alana's a big draw here. It's an enormous board, which Ben just isn't going to be able to deal with. It's whether or not DeadDraw feels comfortable enough on 11 health to drop Alana at this point.
I literally, as soon as I saw that card appear, I was like, okay, that could be the end for Ben in Game 4. But the great thing is, he's not taking that risk. He knows that with that minion in itself, he can get another Elemental, he can get 6 HP a turn back. And I think that's the right play.
Yeah. Again, no real outs for Ben. Yeah, again, let me highlight how well he's managed to negotiate from what looked to me like an impossible position. Getting him down to 8 health was remarkable. Keeping that board clear with a deck that's not known for doing repeated board clears. It has those Hellfires, it has the Defiles, but he's just making the most of that hero power.
But look, again, 8 HP, managed to clear out the rest of Elementals. DeadDraw now doesn't have any cards to effectively heal him back. So it's a question of who's going to take out who first. But of course now he plays the Alana, and he may just call it a day here. Even if he did it last turn, he would have won. But
there's no way
I felt like he just, I think DeadDraw just wanted to be extra safe. He just wanted to make sure that his hero gets healed more, well, sorry, take priority of that rather than playing this card.
Yeah, was there a risk that if he played the Alana last turn, then something like a Hellfire, Hero Power, Defile could have cleared the board? Maybe, especially with that other Water Elemental.
Yeah, I think he knew then as well that it was going to be a real struggle. I can't stand playing really safe. And I think it's just showing now that there's nothing more he could have done. and he taps. But to be fair, Ben really took him, not I wouldn't say to the wire, but really made it a struggle for DeadDraw. For could have been a convincing win, but Ben, even with the cards he had, he really made him so cost effective throughout the whole series. But again, you know, we've got Game 5 coming up soon.
Yeah, I love a good close match.
Love a good Game 5, mate.
Definitely. Ben played, again, flawlessly. No problems with DeadDraw's play either. But, yeah, like you said, he just maximised the value of everything he had over and over.
It was the value 100% throughout that whole thing. And you could see that he was doing his best in any way to stop any elementals. Not only forming, but just to remove him off the board to stop him from getting his HP back. But fair play, he tried his best, and I think there was nothing more value-wise he could have done to at least come back. He could have played that Alana a lot quicker, but as soon as he saw that Hellfire come down, he also knew that was his second one he played, and there was nothing more he could have done to basically take the rest out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, DeadDraw played to his outs. He kept it nice and safe. He made sure that he was staying ahead of everything that Ben was putting down. He used his AoEs, he used his meteors effectively. He just kept generating problem water elementals. And in the end, it was narrowly enough to stay ahead of that even Warlock. And I'm going to say it again, it's the closest I've seen from a position which to me looked flat out dead. There was no way Ben could get into the game to, you know, take him down to 8. That was superbly well played.
And I think the story as well is the fact that Ben, reigning champion, won it last season. He's come back, first match of the day, and you've got DeadDraw, a guy who's just qualified, could already make a huge impact. We spoke about it before. He's a Legend 15 player. He came 11th at the Nationals for Hearthstone only recently, a few weeks ago. And for him to like win his first game against technically the #1 seed, that's huge. That is massive.
Yeah, and he's giving Duncan a lot of trouble. We're down to Game 5, though.
Yeah, with Game 5 now. This is going to be quite interesting now, because obviously we're going to have the same Warlock deck which Ben played versus, depending on what rogue it is, if it's Miracle Rogue or the other rogue. Do you feel like in this matchup, or Odd Rogue, sorry, do you think that with his Warlock deck, do you reckon it'll make much of an impact? Do you reckon he can still easily take this if it's Odd or Miracle?
It depends.
It's a toughie.
if it's odd and the odd, it could be odd. Interestingly, the green skin, it's odd. Yeah. There's no way with Fireflies in there that's going to be Kingsbane, and I would question bringing Kingsbane to the tournament anyway. But yeah, it's odd. If DeadDraw gets off really quickly here, even with Hooked Reavers, it may not be enough for Ben. Alternatively, if there's a turn mid-game where DeadDraw just stalls, then that Hooked Reaver can come down, Spellstones can start coming down to heal the Warlock back up. But this is a great opening hand for DeadDraw.
In terms of his curve, he can't really complain, can he? He's actually he'll probably loving life a little bit at the moment, considering he's got the Fireflies, got the obviously South Sea deckhand, and of course the Deadly Poison when he does hero power, and then next turn use the poison. You know, he's going to be in a really good spot, and of course that Reaver, you won't be using it for a while. It's great to have in the mulligan, but in this matchup, not so great.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting turn too. We saw BigBen kept the Gastropod, or had the Gastropod in his opening hand, I should say. And the powered up hero power for the rogue, the 2 attack weapon, can just clear it down. So there was this point at which Ben was like, okay, I can deal with the early minions. Okay, no, I can't.
And that's it.
Yeah. Because, I mean, DeadDraw could have put down 2 Fireflies. Instead, by putting the dagger in play straight away, there's no point in putting that Gastropod down. It doesn't really do you anything except 1 damage to DeadDraw's face.
And of course, it does take that Doomsayer down. Luckily enough, it does have the attack to do so. At least he managed to have the curve that DeadDraw actually needed. And now, Ben is going to be questioning now. Of course, with Defile, probably a bit too early, I would say.
Yeah, and it's only going to take out the Pirate.
Yeah, and I was just trying to think of anything he could use to bring to 2, which he has done. So, but I don't think it's going to make too much because, of course, he could just trade into that with the deckhand.
Yeah, we see carrying on from what I was saying about the previous time with the poison now on the blade. By putting that 1/2 taunt in the way, effectively it's absorbing 4 damage instead of the 2 that the standard dagger would have done. So, does DeadDraw want to waste 4 damage on a gastropod, or does he want to waste a minion, even if it's just the deckhand, on the gastropod? Chooses to just get rid of the deckhand, hold on to the weapon.
I think he did that because he knew that up to this point, there's a possibility where he will have Defile or Hellfire. For him, he has both. Great. Loving life at the moment. And again, takes out anyway. So I think after DeadDraw seeing that, it's going to be happy with it knowing that he didn't waste a full 1 weapon on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably just me, but I possibly would have liked to see Ben be slightly more greedy with that Hellfire. Maybe wait an extra turn, see if he can get something like another Blink Fox. I mean, the risk being that you're going to take another at least 5-10 health, and really you've only got the... okay, he's just joined into the spell. You only have the Homunculus and the Hooked Reaver to act as a road bump. Possibly there was more mileage into holding the Hellfire for 1 more turn.
I'd say that's true, and of course, Ben, even though he does have 2 Reavers, you can see what DeadDraw has 2 of. So, of course, this could be an issue, and Ben may not be too happy about this.
Yeah, that was definitely not the expression of a happy man.
I want to see his face when they when
DeadDraw
gets the second one out. Yeah. He's going to be like, oh, well, this is good, isn't it? Mate, he could, I suppose Ben could try and bait another one out. But this is another issue. Like, will he make the assumption that he's got another one? No, he hasn't. So he's putting both out.
Yeah, and that's pretty close to lethal.
I would say it's very close.
That's 7. No, not quite.
Not yet, but he's on the way.
Yeah, it's well on the way, definitely. Does he push the 4 to face? Yes, he does. I like it.
I don't blame him, really. I don't blame him. He's like, he's close enough now. I feel like I did feel sorry for Ben because he did have those 2 Reavers, but of course, with DeadDraw, managed to take him out perfectly, as he should. But now, I don't think there's anything much he can do at this stage.
Right. So we've got the Defile. We've got the Spellstone.
At least get a little bit of damage back.
Yeah. So we need 7 for DeadDraw. He's got access to... yeah, he's got access to the 5 from the board in his hand and the weapon. Down comes a Cobalt Scalebane as well. That's going to be buffing the attack of one of these guys. And there's no AoE in hand. And even if there was another Hellfire, then it's not going to clear off the Scalebane, and it's going to leave him on 1 health.
This is the issue. Ben did have... I think he's used all 4 taunts from the Reavers as well, on top of that.
Yeah.
So the only thing maybe he could do is bone mess something, but by then it's way too late. And I think he understands that as well now. So, of course, Ben will sadly lose that 3-2, and, of course, DeadDraw. It looked very bleak for him at one point, even though he had a good curve to start with.
Yeah.
Things looked great. And then Ben used a Hellfire, which you thought yourself may have been a little bit too early. Maybe should have waited a little bit longer. And of course, well, those 2 Reavers got taken out straight off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to hear what Ben thinks.